Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Shah Weekly. And in this video I'll be showing you how you can save NSColor or UIKolor into core data database as a transformable property and then retrieve it and display it on the screen. So let's go ahead and get started. Now for this app, I'm going to be building a macOS application. So make sure that you are selecting macOS. And we're just going to select the app template. You can name your application anything you want. So I'm just going to say Rooms app. And let's just save it on desktop. Now keep in mind that you can, if you want, you can also use the iOS application. That is perfectly fine. But I'm just using macOS. All right. So the process will be very much similar. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the user will have some place so that they can enter a room and a color. All right. You can see that on the right hand side, I can see the preview of my application. Since this is a Mac app, it doesn't really show any iPhone or anything. It simply shows a window which is produced by our code on the left hand side. So let's go ahead and get started. In order for a person to enter a room, and we are only considering the name of the room and the color associated with the room, and that's it. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to add a VStack alignment with leading, and I can go ahead and say text, adding a room, font, large title. You can see that it's already making nice shape. You can see add a room. Now I do want to add a little bit of padding, and maybe I can go ahead and provide some sort of a maximum width and some sort of a maximum height if you want. Okay, looking good. Now in order to ask the user to enter a title of the room, we need a text box. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a text field. And we can say the name. Keep in mind that for this application, the main purpose of this video is to just show you how you can store the NSColor or UIKolor into the SQLite database using core data. So we will not really be using any MVVM design pattern. I have a lot of other videos that you can definitely check it out if you want to learn more about MVVM design pattern, and I'll also make a link or something in the YouTube description so that you can check it out. So here I'm creating the state property so that the binding will work correctly right there. Let's go ahead and refresh our preview. So we should be able to hopefully see the add room text as well as the text field. Let's go and see if it works. Sometimes you'll see the preview doesn't really work as expected, but there we go, it's looking fine now. I'm going to also go ahead and push everything on the top by adding a spacer. So this is great. We can enter or add the name, but what about the color? I mean, how exactly are we going to allow the user to pick a color for a room? Now you can use a color picker if you want to, but I'm just going to show you how easy it is to create a color selection view if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new view, color selection view. Okay. And we should be able to see the preview, which you can see that it doesn't really have anything. So what colors do we want? So we can create an array of colors. And next, we want to display those colors in a horizontal fashion. By the way, I am a little bit under the weather, as you can tell from my voice. Here we go, ID, self, color in, and we should be able to display an image which will represent the color. So system name, and I can go ahead and simply say circle.fill. So let's see what it displays. You can see it displays a white circle. We can go ahead and make the circles a little bit bigger if we want to. And we can go ahead and change the foreground color. And let's go ahead and also clip shape to be a circle. So the only thing we're looking at is a circle. All right. So this is what we have right now. And another thing that we want to do is when you select a particular color. So on tab gesture, somebody is going to be passing in the binding property, which means that whenever we select or set this selected color, then the parent or whoever is passing down this selected color will also get updated. Selected color equals to color. Okay. Now if I try to run this, it's going to complain because in the color selection view preview, we need to pass in one of the arguments, the only argument, which is a selected color, and I'm just going to pass in blue. All right. Now one of the things that we really need to do is that when you actually select a color, it would be nice that if you give an indication that the color is selected. So what we can do is we can check over here if the selected color is equals to the color, then we will go ahead and display record.circle.fill, else we will display something else. And you can get all of these names from an application called San Francisco Symbols, and you just need to put the code over here, which are the name of that particular symbol. And now you can see that since I'm passing blue, the blue one is the one that is selected. And that's it. That's how you create a color selection view. It's pretty simple. Now let's go back to our code and display our color selection view. So color selection view will take in a bindable property of the color. And currently we don't really have that, which is not a big deal because in our parent, which is our content view, I can go ahead and create a property and assign it some sort of a default color and then send it back as the property. Perfect. And make sure to have a var, obviously. So this means that the color selection view where you're passing in the color, whenever you change the color, this color property also gets changed in the parent, which is great. Now let's go ahead and run the app and you'll be able to see the color selection view in action. Oh wow, it looks really good. You can see that. Looks really good. And I can select different color. And the one that is selected is the one that has a little bit of a circle inside, a black circle. But that's the one that is selected. Perfect. Now the other thing that we want to do is we want to obviously save the room with the color. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a button, and when we click a button, we should be able to save that particular color to the database. All right. Now we don't really have any core data or anything, so the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add a data model. And you can call this anything you want. I'm just going to call it room model. There we go. Let's add an entity. That entity will be the one that's getting saved to the database. And I'm just going to call it room. Now we will move to the attributes of that entity. Attributes mean the properties. So one of the properties we already know, which is name. And that will be a string. and that is required. So let's go ahead and make sure that optional is not checked. There we go. The other property is each room will have a color. But this time we want to actually store the actual color. Since we're using a Mac OS application, it will be NSColor. If you were using a iOS application, it would have been UIKolor. Now there is no type that says NSColor or UIKolor. But there is a type called Transformable. And Transformable type is a type that can be transformed back and forth. So one thing that we're going to do is we're going to set it to Transformable. It's not going to be optional. And the custom class, what this Transformable represents, will be NSColor. All right. Okay, now when we build the application, since the room entity is set to code generation, it's automatically going to generate the files associated with the room entity. And if we look at that file, you can already see this is generated by Xcode. You can see that it had created a property which is of type NSColor. The problem is that the NSColor does not belong to any of these modules. NSColor belongs in AppKit. So you might be very tempted to go ahead and edit this file and add AppKit. But first of all, you can edit this file. This file doesn't belong to you. And even if you find a way to edit this file, the next time you build, it will be overwritten. So, which is right here. So we can't really do that. So we need to find a different way to accommodate for our NSColor property. So I'm just going to copy all of this stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. You can call this file anything you want. This file will be our room file. In other words, we're asking core data that, you know what, don't generate any file for us. We will just do it ourselves. But this is not really going to work right now. You still have to go to the room model, select your entity, and you have to say that I don't really want the code generation to work like this. I don't want you to be creating classes for me. I will just do it myself manually. So I'm just going to say manually, which means I'm responsible for creating a core data file associated with my room entity. Let's go to the room file. Now you can't really have an extension on the room when there is no such thing as a room. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a room and let's manage object. And since core data is mostly in terms of Objective-C, we're just going to say Objective-C room so that it can be represented over there also. Apart from that, everything should be okay. The only thing we need to add to this file will be AppKit so that we can use NSColor. Now it is possible that it builds successfully, but it will still complain. That's just Xcode. There we go. It is perfectly fine because you can see that your build, well, right now it's not fine, I guess, but the build says succeeded. So you can see that, there we go, it says 0, and then eventually it kind of comes back. It should be okay. I think if you close Xcode and start over again, it should be okay, but build has succeeded, and it's just Xcode having issues. All right. So this should be okay. Then the next step we need to do is to initialize core data. We will create a core data manager. I have done that number of times, so we are not really going to spend that much time in initializing core data. So let me go ahead and just copy the core data manager. There we go. The core data manager uses the NSPersistent store to load core data. That's it. It does have one property called shared, and that can be used to access to the instance, a single instance of core data manager. And from there, we can access the view context. Let's go back to our rooms app file, the starting point of our application. And we need to make sure that we have access to the context. We will get core data manager.shared .persistent container.view context. And now we can go ahead and inject the environment. Manage object context and view context. Once again, I'm not really using MVVM design pattern. I'm just trying to show you how you can save the NSColor as a transformable property into SQLite database using core data. All right, so now we can go back to our content view and we should try to probably save. But before we do that, we need to access the view context property. So I'm just going to go ahead and refer to the environment. And the key that we are looking for is manage object context, view context. Let room equals to room, and then view context. Room.name equals to name. Room.color equals to color. Well, we can't really assign color because the color in the room is NSColor and the color that you're trying to assign is just a color structure. So no problem, we can go ahead and pass in the color to NSColor and we will be good to go. Finally, we can call viewContext.save, which is actually going to save our data to the database. Let's go ahead and run the application. Now, as soon as I run the application, and I haven't really saved anything, I get this weird big message. And basically this message is saying that looks like that you're using a transformable property, but you forgot to use a transformer, which is a necessary thing that you need so that you can transform the data from data to NSColor and NSColor to data. So even though we have set that in our room model that the color will be of type NSColor, we still have to create the transformer which will transform the NSColor to data and data to NSColor back and forth. So let's go ahead and add that. New file. You can call your transformer anything you want. I'm just going to go ahead and create a very descriptive name, NSColor transformer. And in the NSColor transformer, let's go ahead and import AppKit because we will be transforming back and forth from data to NSColor and NSColor to data. We will create our class called NSColor transformer, which is a value transformer. Now, there are a couple of different functions that we need to implement. There is a transform value. This is the one that will transform it to the data. And then the reverse transform value, this is the one that's going to convert from data to NSColor. So the first thing we're going to check over here in the transform value is we are going to get the color. We will convert or try to cast the value to NSColor. If it fails, then we can simply return nil. If it doesn't fail, then we can probably go ahead and archive it. So ns-archiver.archive data, we are archiving over here color, requires secure coding is find true, so that we know that when you are encoding it, at that time you are encoding the same object and you're not allowing other objects to jump in. Try let data, and since the NSKey transformer can actually throw, that's why we're wrapping it up over here, and we can return data. On the other hand, if you do catch an exception, then we can go ahead and return nil. The same thing we need to do, but in reverse order, in the reverse transform value. So I'm just going to copy paste the code over here, which is basically taking the data and converting it to the color. Even though we have created this, we have to still set this property. So let's go back to our room model, select color, and make sure that over here where it says transformer, you are adding the name of your transformer, which is NSColor transformer. Apart from that, you also have to tell your core data manager that you are using transformer. So let's go to the core data manager, and right over here we can go ahead and say value transformer dot set value transformer, and the name of the transformer is NS, or the actual type or instance is NSColor transformer, and the name of the transformer will be whatever you want to give it. I'm just going to go ahead and put the same name, and there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and run the app now. NSColor transformer was found for attribute color. No value transformer with this transformer name. Okay, let's see what I'm doing wrong. I think it was just a name. So this was NSColor transfer instead of transformer, so I just changed it. Hopefully that will fix our issue. Let's go ahead and run the app again. And it looks like it's good. Now I can go ahead and add a particular room. So let's say that I would say kitchen, and I will color it to red and save. And then I will say bathroom with purple, save. Now, one of the things that will be really nice if we are able to display it. I'm not sure what that error is. I think it's not related to what we are doing, hopefully. But what we want to do is we want to also display all the results. So let's go to content view, keeping in mind that we did add a couple of different rooms with the color. In order to fetch all of that stuff, I can use over here the fetch request. I can provide entity, which in this case can be room.entity. Sort descriptor can be nothing. Predicate we don't care about. And this we don't also care about. I'm just going to say all rooms. This will be fetch results and of type room. Once we have this, we should be able to simply go ahead and display it. So since it's going to return multiple rooms, I can go ahead and iterate through it and try to display it in a list. H stack text room.name. Let's go ahead and add a spacer. And for the color, we're just going to have a rectangle, and we will fill it up with the actual color that is provided to you. So we will say color and room.color .frame max width, and we can say 100. Over here, I've used force unwrapping. There's no way to, I guess, save a color as nullable. So if it's not saved in the database as null, so it must have a value. So that's why I'm doing that. If you want to unwrap it, you can do it in a different way if you want. Let's go ahead and run it. And there we go. We are getting a kitchen, and we are getting a bathroom over here. Let's go ahead and say kids room 1, and I'm going to go ahead and name it as blue. Kids room 2, we can do yellow. Perfect. So now you can see that we are able to save NSColor as a transformable property into our database using core data. So hopefully you have enjoyed it. Make sure to download the GitHub repository, and thank you so much for watching. Hey, if you like this video and want to support my channel, then the best way would be to check out my Udemy courses. I have a lot of different Udemy courses ranging from test-driven development, SwiftUI. But if you're looking for core data, I have the best selling course on core data, which is going to also cover the stuff that we just covered, the transformable types, but it's going to cover a lot of other stuff, one-to-many relationship, many-to-many relationship, CloudKit, iCloud integration, and a lot of stuff using core data. So all the links are right there in the description of the YouTube video, and I really hope that you enjoy the courses. Thank you so much.